A roar shattered the silence, as a claw reached into the car, despair evident in the man's eyes. At that moment, the monster with a sheep head and human body suddenly appeared. The man knew he had nowhere to run, so he made up his mind to fight the monster. However, he was unaware that the monster was being controlled by someone. Many years ago, in the forest, a man wrapped in animal skins was running frantically. He looked back in fear, as eerie shadows kept flashing behind him. Meanwhile, a group of people sat around a leather drum, murmuring ancient incantations, as if conducting a mysterious summoning ritual. The little girl tightly held a dream catcher, praying for her father to escape harm. But the man was still lifted into the air by the mysterious creature, accompanied by a roar. The old lady woke up from the nightmare, the gruesome scene of her father's death still haunting her memories. She called her granddaughter Claire, pleading for her to come and be with her. On the other side, Claire's family was driving to reach her. She has 2 children, a boy named Ryan, and a girl named Blair. Blair is strong-willed, and she excels in judo, while Ryan is timid, and often faces bullying at school. Despite his mother and sister's help, he still doesn't dare to stand up for himself. Soon, Claire arrives at Grandma Kamani's cabin with the children, and the police have been waiting for them. It turns out that Grandma Kamani couldn't be reached. After making the phone call, which worried Claire, she contacted the local police on her way there. Ryan can hardly believe the dilapidated cabin in front of them. Is it really where they have to stay? At that moment, Ryan notices a man in the police car staring at them intently. Blair steps forward to warn him to mind his own business, but Claire doesn't notice this interaction. As Claire expresses gratitude to Officer Bradley for his concern about Grandma, he reminds her that according to the paramedics, the elderly woman suffers from mild dementia and often speaks incoherently. Claire explains, Grandmother Kamani has always been like this. Bradley suddenly asks, what is a Wendigo? Claire doesn't answer. Instead, she changes the subject. Upon learning that grandmother is inside the house, she asks Bradley to leave. She calls the children into the house. After Claire enters the house, she doesn't immediately find Kamani, while Ryan discovers a sheep's skull placed on the table. After careful examination, he openly expresses disgust. Then he follows Claire upstairs, continuing the search for Kamani. Ryan enters the hallway. He pushes open a wooden door. The room is in disarray. Suddenly, a bizarre object on the bed starts wriggling. The door closes at that moment. Ryan screams in fright, but the creature is still approaching. Claire and Blair rush over upon hearing the sound. The mysterious object reveals its true form. It is none other than Grandmother Kamani. Claire excitedly embraces her grandmother. Ryan becomes curious about Grandmother Kamani. He asks about Kamani's age. Claire, however, says she doesn't know, because grandmother is just the title they use for Kamani. Claire's grandmother called her in the same way. No one in the family knows how long this old woman has lived. At the dining table, Kamani shows the family photo album to everyone. All of her children have long passed away. Ryan sighs. The feeling of immortality must be nice, right? The sadness in Kamani's eyes becomes evident. She confesses, immortality is not a blessing, but rather a curse. She has had to personally say goodbye to every beloved person, no matter who it is. No one should suffer from such a curse. After she finishes speaking, she leaves the dining table. The next morning, the 3 of them discover Kamani is missing again. They quickly rush out to search for her. Ryan and Blair arrive at the warehouse. It's pitch black inside. They enter, calling out their grandmother's name, but they hear the growling of a wild beast. There's also a dark figure by the window. Ryan reaches out, but the dark figure suddenly pounces at him. Ryan screams. Blair quickly turns on the light. The wild beast turns out to be a small cat. The dark figure is just a scarecrow. Ryan breathes a sigh of relief. The 2 of them continue searching deep in the forest, but they find nothing. Just then, grandmother walks out from behind Ryan, telling him not to disturb the resting souls here. She then leads the siblings to her secret hideout. It's filled with dream catchers. Ryan is curious. What is Kamani doing? Grandmother answers. She is searching for a safe resting place. Ryan is extremely confused. It's supposed to be a resting place. Why emphasize safety? Grandmother picks up a circular object with a sheep skull hanging from it, and starts weaving a dream catcher. She weaves numerous dream catchers, because they can capture and dissipate evil thoughts. She tells the 2 children a secret. In this land lies a demon in hiding, called Wendigo. When a person's evil thoughts become elusive, Wendigo is summoned to devour the flesh of the wicked, and transform into a true demon. The dream catcher in Kamani's hand can bind and drive it away, but sometimes it doesn't work. Wendigo is born for slaughter. It possesses immortality. Only by killing both the summoner and Wendigo can it be completely eradicated. The children don't believe. Then, the group returns home. The siblings start tidying up their messy room. Ryan lifts the blanket. Underneath is a sheep skull. This makes Ryan can't help but think of Claire's strange behavior, and the dream catchers in the house. He feels uneasy. Blair interrupts Ryan's thoughts. She discovers a string of Christmas lights, and suggests using them to decorate the cabin. To add a festive atmosphere for the upcoming Christmas, add a holiday ambience. The two of them decide to find another Christmas tree. They head towards the forest next to the cabin, but they get lost. Suddenly, Ryan smells a peculiar scent. He looks up. A red brick house comes into view. They enter the house. They find various chemicals scattered on the floor. Blair goes out to gather information, leaving Ryan alone to explore inside the house. Danger suddenly strikes. Someone attacks from behind. Ryan is pushed down to the ground. Turns out it's a drug lab, and Ryan stumbled upon this secret. Drug dealer Kevin interrogates his purpose. At this moment, Ben also appears. He recognizes Ryan is not a local. He suggests killing him. They take Ryan outside, then discuss ways to kill Ryan, preferably disguised as a natural death. They torment Ryan, without realizing Blair's appearance. She knocks down the gun in Kevin's hand with an axe. She rescues Ryan. The two of them escape immediately. Ben threatens Ryan and Blair. He knows their address. As soon as Ryan enters the house, he immediately dials the police. Bradley arrives to understand the situation, but he suspects Ryan is lying. He speculates, because they purchased fake goods from Ben, they want to report and punish them. This absurd claim makes everyone feel angry. Korma cannot tolerate Bradley's bias against Ryan. She firmly demands him to leave. The events that happened today leave timid Ryan with lingering fear. He nervously watches the outside for any movements, afraid that those people might suddenly appear. Blair comes to comfort him, saying she will protect her brother, but Ryan wants to save face. He can't accept his sister's protection. After Blair leaves with a gun, Ryan, as if being influenced by some mysterious forces calling, he lifts the blanket and picks up the sheep skull. But at that moment, Kamani suddenly appears and brings healing medicine. After applying the medicine to Ryan, Kamani leaves. In the middle of the night, Ryan suddenly gets his mouth and nose covered. Then, he sees the faces of 3 thugs, but quickly realizes that it's just a dream. He's surprised to find out that the wound has miraculously healed. Kamani comes again to check on Ryan's condition. Compared to Ryan's surprise, Kamani appears unusually calm. She brings Ryan to the goat's head, saying it's all its blessings. Ryan asks if it can be used to fight against enemies. After receiving a positive response, Ryan requests his grandmother to help him summon the Wendigo. After some hesitation, Kamani agrees. She tells Ryan, after everyone is asleep, to bring the goat's head and find her. Night falls. Kamani, at the table, arranges the herbs to summon the Wendigo. Then she holds Ryan's hands and instructs him to express his inner desires. In Chippewa language, Kamani tells him that after completing it, he must send the Wendigo back and never summon it again. Ryan agrees. In the silent forest, Ryan lifts the goat's head, summons the Wendigo with ancient language. As the goat's head opens its mouth, he knows the end has come for those people. The following night, Ryan lies on the bed, reciting the incantation, activating the Wendigo to initiate an attack. While those thugs, knowing the hideout has been discovered, they arrive at the well in the late night, preparing to destroy the drug-making equipment. Tucker is alone, cleaning up the debris on the ground. He seems to catch a glimpse of a dark figure. Immediately after, he hears a roaring sound. Tucker's heart rate increases. After the eerie sound vanishes, he approaches the well to dispose of the trash, wanting to finish quickly and go home early. But there seems to be something in the water. Just as he leans in to take a look, he is instantly dragged into the well, unable to see what it is. Tucker doesn't die immediately. He shouts for help in the well. Kevin hears the sound. He throws down a rope to try to rescue Tucker. Just as Tucker is about to climb up the edge of the well, the Wendigo drags him back into the well again. Tucker sees the demon in the well, letting out a final scream, and then falls into eternal sleep. Kevin is scared and quickly runs away. Meanwhile, Ryan wakes up from his bed. That posture seems to be choking something. There's blood in his mouth. The next day, he hurries to the well, and happens to see Kevin with Ben also arrives to inspect yesterday's crime scene, but there's no sign of Tucker in the well. Ben accuses Kevin of being cowardly for leaving their companion behind. Tucker must have climbed out by himself and is already back home. Suddenly, blood drips onto Ben's face. They look up. A body hangs from a tree. A mutilated corpse. The two of them are frightened and quickly leave. Ryan finally dares to show up. He looks at the corpse, recalling Kamani's previous warning. He gradually understands. He is the one who killed Tucker. Ryan returns home and goes straight to find his grandmother, but his grandmother locks herself in the room. She already knows the rampage of the Wendigo last night. The situation has spiraled out of control. Disaster is about to strike. Ryan can't knock on Kamani's door and can only return to his room. He lies on the bed. Images of being bullied flash in his mind, flashing through his mind. Suddenly, car honks sound outside the window. Ryan opens the curtains. He sees Ben and Kevin. He realizes the two of them don't intend to let him go. Determined to use the Wendigo once again. During dinner, Ryan's eyes start turning white. He walks out the door in a daze. A forest appears in his line of sight. His eyes are merging with the Wendigo. Meanwhile, Ben is chopping wood in the backyard. He feels like someone is watching him. He stands up to investigate, but everything seems normal, so he continues chopping wood. At this moment, Ryan controls the Wendigo and launches an attack from behind, then uses a machine to sever his arms. Finally, he drags Ben away. In the yard, Ryan is tearing something apart. His family quickly calls out to him. Ryan finally comes to his senses. His family takes him to the hospital for examination, but there are no physical issues. Ryan is enjoying this killing spree when he thinks about the drug dealer who once humiliated him. Facing the same fate, he feels a sense of satisfaction. Ryan invites Blair. Together, they go to the forest to find a Christmas tree. Blair is worried about falling into the hands of drug dealers again, but Ryan assures her that nothing will happen. On the way back home, they unexpectedly encounter the drug dealer, Kevin. He gives them a menacing look. Ryan is no longer a weak and vulnerable person. He will make men regret their actions. That night, Ryan is concerned about Kamani's condition. He brings food and approaches her. Kamani warns him once again to be careful of the Wendigo's corruption of people. With each person it kills, its power grows stronger. Ryan asks Kamani if she is so afraid. Why did she help summon this demon for him? Kamani lowers her head and tells him the reason. When she was a child, the tribe experienced an unprecedented cold. They lacked food. Many of their people died as a result. Kamani's father tries to satisfy his hunger. He cut meat from the bodies of his companions to punish her father and young Kamani. The tribal leader summoned the Wendigo to punish them. Her father gave her a dream catcher to protect her, but it couldn't stop the curse. Kamani couldn't die as a result until she was taken away by the Wendigo. Upon hearing this, he doesn't find anything wrong with it. Instead, he believes that the arrival of the Wendigo might not be a bad thing. He will protect his grandmother. He refuses to send away the Wendigo. Kamani realizes Ryan has lost his sanity. Ryan realizes he can't convince his grandmother, so he returns to his room. He plans to target Kevin. He summons the Wendigo once again. Meanwhile, inside the camper, Kevin is talking to his friends, describing Tucker's condition after death. Unaware that he will face the same fate, the camper starts shaking. Then, a dark figure flashes by the window. Kevin realizes danger is approaching. He quickly runs to the car, but he realizes the car won't start. Kevin is now in a desperate situation. He looks at the Wendigo outside the window, gripping a knife, preparing to fight for his life. The Wendigo instantly appears next to the car door. After violently tearing it open, the creature drags Kevin out of the car, but Kevin doesn't give up. He quickly counterattacks. His knife stabs into the Wendigo's body, but it doesn't harm it in the slightest. Instead, it angers the Wendigo. The Wendigo pulls out a knife and stabs Kevin, then ruthlessly severs his leg and devours him. The next day, Bradley comes to their door. He suspects 3 drug dealers were killed by Ryan. Ryan's anger ignites within him, thinking about Bradley's response after he reported the incident. Not only did he not believe him, but he turned against him. The more he thought, the angrier he became. He immediately returns to his bedroom, summoning the Wendigo once again, and kills Bradley. This time, due to Ryan's malice, the Wendigo completely loses control. After devouring the policeman, it turns towards Kamani's house. Ryan realizes the situation is dire. He makes a deal with the demon, and reveals to his family that he killed 4 people. He confesses the Wendigo is now out of control. His mother, Claire, doesn't believe him, but when she sees the Wendigo at the window, she realizes that Ryan was telling the truth. they hide in an upstairs room, turning off all the lights. To avoid attracting the Wendigos' attention, Blair nervously raises the hunting rifle. Meanwhile, Ryan quickly opens the closet and chops out an escape route with an axe. At the moment, the Wendigo breaks through the door. Claire and the others take the opportunity to escape, heading straight for the garage. Then locking the main gate, the Wendigo breaks through the door once again. Ryan distracts its attention downstairs. Blair seizes the chance to capture it with a dream catcher. Claire uses a forklift to pin the Wendigo down, but it doesn't work at all. The Wendigo manages to rise again and lunges at them. Kamani suddenly appears. She repels the Wendigo with a dream catcher, then looks at her family and runs towards the forest. The Wendigo follows closely behind. Claire and the others are unwilling to leave Kamani to face the danger alone. They also enter the forest. Just as the Wendigo approaches the grandmother, Ryan bravely tackles it. Mom and sister arrive in time, but conventional weapons can't harm it. Kamani is determined to sacrifice herself with the Wendigo. Once she dies, the curse will disappear. She uses a dagger to end her life. The Wendigo turns into ashes. The grandmother finally reaches a safe resting place. The next day, a gentle breeze brushes over the feathers on the dream catcher. Claire and the others are in the cemetery, saying goodbye to Kamani. Ryan hangs the dream catcher he personally made underneath the eaves. In remembrance of their beloved family member, the group drives away from this place. The film ends here. This American thriller horror film, the protagonist, Ryan, is timid and insecure. He has always been bullied by others. When he gains the power to decide life and death, he gradually becomes addicted to this newfound strength. Greed overwhelms him, and he becomes increasingly trapped. Ryan pours his accumulated resentment upon those who once bullied him, even affecting innocent individuals. If it weren't for the monster eventually turning against him, Ryan would continue down this bloody path, without an end in sight. However, in the end of the movie, Ryan loses the power he was once obsessed with. But in doing so, he becomes brave. It can be considered a blessing in disguise. This episode comes to an end. If you enjoyed my video, please give me a subscribe.